The Ancient Book of Enoch, Part 8, The First and Second Dreams, Chapter 89b, The 70 Shepherds. He called 70 shepherds and gave the care of the sheep over to them. He said to the shepherds and their companions, "Let each one of you pasture the sheep and do everything exactly as I command you. I will deliver them over unto you duly numbered and tell you which of them you are to destroy." When he had given the sheep over unto them, he called to another and said, "Write down everything that the shepherds do to those sheep, for they will destroy more of them than I have commanded. Record how many they destroy out of the ones I command them to destroy, and how many out of the ones I command them not to destroy. Record against every individual shepherd all the destruction he effects, so that I may have this as a testimony against them, and know every deed of the shepherds, whether or not they abide by my command, which I have commanded them. Do not declare it to them, nor warn them, but only record against each individual all the destruction which the shepherds effect each in his time, and lay it all before me." I saw till those shepherds pastured for a season, and they began to kill and to destroy more than they were bidden, and they delivered those sheep into the hand of the lions. The lions and tigers ate and devoured the greater part of those sheep, and the wild boars ate along with them, and they burnt that tower and demolished that house. I mourned a great deal over that tower because the house of the sheep was demolished, and afterwards I was unable to see if those sheep entered that house. It was written by the other in a book, how many each one of them destroyed of them. Each one killed and destroyed many more than he was ordered, and I began to weep for those sheep. I watched how he wrote down every one that was destroyed by those shepherds, day by day, and carried up and showed the whole book to the Lord, everything that they had done. The book was read before the Lord, and he took the book from his hand and read it, sealed it, and laid it down. I saw how the shepherds pastured for 12 hours, and behold, 3 of those sheep turned back and came and entered, and began to build up all that had fallen down of that house. The wild boars tried to hinder them, but they were not able. They built up that tower, and it was named the High Tower. Then they began again to place a table before the tower, but all the bread on it was polluted and not pure. All the sheep, as well as the shepherds, were blind to all this, and a great number of the sheep were delivered to their shepherds for destruction. And they trampled the sheep with their feet, and devoured them. The Lord of the sheep remained unmoved till all the sheep were dispersed over the field and mingled with the beasts, and the shepherds did not save them out of the hand of the beasts. The one who wrote the book carried it up, and read it before the Lord, and implored him on their account, showing all the things the shepherds did. He took the actual book and laid it down beside him and departed. Chapter 90, Last of the 35. I watched till in this manner the 35 shepherds pastured the sheep, and they each completed their period, as did the first, one after the other, each shepherd in his own period. After that I saw in my vision all the birds of heaven coming, eagles, vultures, kites, ravens. But the eagles led all the birds, and they began to devour those sheep, and to pick out their eyes, and to devour their flesh. And the sheep cried out, because their flesh was being devoured by the birds. And as for me, I looked and cried out in my sleep over that shepherd who pastured the sheep. And I watched until those sheep were devoured by the dogs and eagles and kites, and they did not leave any flesh, skin, or sinew on them, only their bones stood there, and their bones too fell to the earth, and the sheep became very few in number. I watched the next 23 shepherds pastured, but when they completed their periods, they had pastured 58 times. I saw in the vision how the ravens flew upon those lambs and took one of those lambs and dashed the sheep in pieces and devoured them. And I saw till horns grew upon those lambs, and the ravens cast down their horns. And I saw a great horn sprouted out on one of those sheep, and their eyes were opened. And it looked at them, and their eyes opened, and it cried to the sheep, and the rams saw it and all ran to it. And notwithstanding all this, those eagles, vultures, ravens, and kites still kept tearing the sheep and swooping down upon them and devouring them. Still the sheep remained silent, but the rams lamented and cried out. And those ravens fought and battled with it and sought to lay low its horn, but they had no power over it. All the shepherds and eagles, vultures, and kites came and cried to the ravens that they should break the horn of the ram. It fought with them and cried out that help might come. I saw that man come, who had written down the names of the shepherds and brought them to the Lord of the sheep, and he helped the ram and showed him everything. Its help was coming down. The Lord of the sheep came to them in anger, and everyone who saw him fled. and all fell into his shadow before his face. The eagles, vultures, ravens, and kites assembled together with all the desert sheep. They all came together and assisted one another in order to break the horn of the ram. I saw that man who wrote the book according to the command of the Lord, till he opened that book of destruction, the destruction which those 12 last shepherds had done, and showed that they had destroyed much more than their predecessors before the Lord of the sheep. The Lord of the sheep came unto them and took the staff of his wrath in his hand and smote the earth, and the earth was torn apart, and all the beasts and all the birds of the heaven fell away from those sheep and were swallowed up in the earth, and it covered them. Then a great sword was given to the sheep, and the sheep proceeded against all the beasts of the field to kill them, and all the beasts and the birds of the heaven fled before their face. I watched till a throne was erected in the pleasant land, and the Lord of the sheep sat on it, and he took all of the sealed books and opened those books before the Lord of the sheep. The Lord called to those first 7 white ones, and commanded them to bring the first star before him, who in the beginning caused the fall of all the stars, who let out their sexual organs like horses. And they brought the first star first, then all the others before him. He said to that man who wrote before him, being one of those 7 white ones, and said unto him, Of those 70 shepherds to whom I delivered the sheep, bring those who took them on their own authority, and killed more than I commanded them. Behold, they were all bound, I saw, and they all stood before him. The judgment was held first over the stars, and they were judged and found guilty, and went to the place of condemnation. And they were cast into an abyss full of fire, flames, and pillars of fire. Those of the 70 shepherds who were bound before the Lord were judged, found guilty, and were cast into that fiery abyss. I saw at that time how a similar abyss was opened in the middle of the earth, full of fire, and they brought those blinded sheep. And they were all judged and found guilty and cast into this fiery abyss and burned. Now this abyss was to the right of that house. I saw those sheep burning, and their bones burning. I stood up to see till they folded up that old house and carried off all the pillars, beams, and the ornaments of the house were at the same time folded up with it, and they carried it off and laid it in a place in the south of the land. I saw till the Lord of the sheep created a new larger and higher house, and set it up in the place of the first which had been folded up. All its pillars were new, its ornaments were new and larger than those of the first, which he had removed, and all the sheep in the midst of it. I saw all the sheep which had been left, and all the beasts on the earth, and all the birds of the heaven, falling down and doing homage to those sheep, and making petition to and obeying them in everything. Thereafter those 3 who were clothed in white and had seized me by my hand and taken me up before, and the hand of that ram also seizing hold of me, they took me up and set me down in the midst of those sheep before the judgment took place. Those sheep were all white, and their wool was abundant and clean. All that had been destroyed and dispersed, and all the beasts of the field, and all the birds of the heaven assembled in that house. And the Lord of the sheep rejoiced with great joy, because they were all good and had returned to his house. I watched till they laid down that sword, which had been given to the sheep, and they brought it back into the house, and it was sealed before the presence of the Lord. And all the sheep were invited into that house, but it held them not. The eyes of them all were opened, and they saw the good one. And there was not one among them that did not see. And I saw that that house was large and broad and very full. I saw a white bull that had been born with large horns, and all the beasts of the field, and all the birds of the air feared him, and made petition to him all the time. I saw till all their generations were transformed, and they all became white bulls, and the first among them became a word, and that word became a great animal, and had great black horns on its head. And the Lord of the sheep rejoiced over it and over all the cattle. I slept in their midst, and I awoke and saw everything. This is the vision which I saw while I slept, and I awoke and blessed the Lord of righteousness and gave him glory. Then I wept, and my tears flowed on account of what I had seen, for everything will come to pass and be fulfilled, and all the deeds of men in their order were shown to me. On that night I remembered the first dream, and because of it I wept and was troubled, because I had seen that vision.